One debate here is, should airline invest more in cargo logistics service or keep the, for example, half passenger and half freight? How you think? So they have lots of debate. So previously we call it freighter. Freighter means like mainly only cargo, 100% for cargos. So we have three options for airline company. 100% for passenger, 100% for freight, half and half, or mixture, maybe not really half and half. The question would be like, should airline invest more in a full freight aircraft? So, especially in this year, how do you think? Certainly this year, like no choice for the passenger operations. But how do you think?
I think.
Okay, looks fine. Okay, so how do you think?
It's no choice. No choice.
No choice?
Yeah.
Maybe in this kind of situation in COVID-19, because people cannot fly freely, so maybe it's better for us just all for the cargo shipment.
Okay, so which means Handy and also agree with this kind of agreement. What else?
I think given this COVID-19 situation, a 50-50 arrangement is a good option because there are not as many passengers, and at the same time, I think with the boom in online shopping, possibly the cargo business also makes sense. So maybe it might be good to incorporate it together.
Okay, so one support for the mixture, maybe not just half and half, but mixture. How will you think? Should we need to transform to the full freight or still keep the mixture strategy? But remember that space means the money. So this space, if you keep the mixture, which means that the some space left for passengers may be quite empty. So how will you think? What kind of strategy? If you were the owner of an airline company, or a manager, or how will you think? Any other thinking about that? Full freight or this debate always asked by many times, and lots of people always have a different debate. But this year is quite interesting. COVID-19, I would say challenging, but still interesting. Lots of people think about COVID-19, which means very few passengers could be operated by airline company this year, and some company they successfully transform to the full freight, some are not. How will you think? So as I mentioned before, one Hong Kong airline, they originally focused on the passenger operation, but this year they are very difficult to maintain the original operation plan, so they closed one sub company, which means they decide to. Maybe it looks like they still want to wait for the international whole situation become much better. But so far, this kind of main decision is: do you want to move to the freight? But another key point is, if every airline company, all move to the freight, what will happen? No passenger flight. I mean, what else? Think about it, which means the capacity will dramatically increase suddenly. So which means the profit for the airline freight, air logistics may not be easy to earn like this time. So which means supply will dramatically suddenly over the demand. And they will push to another competition, like the maritime. We mentioned maritime before. A couple of years ago, the maritime seems a major trend among the global supply chain operations. So more and more maritime companies tend to build larger ship, and they tend to enlarge their capacity. So suddenly they found they compete with each other, and they want to maintain the fundamental and the basic operations. So which means they start to lower down their shipping price. Once they start to lower down the shipping price, they will find their profit also decrease, even though they carry on more and more freight, but may not be really earn enough money. So that's another bad situation. So this debate is always talk about it every year by year. So question is, even though under COVID-19, should we really push and jump into the fourth rate economic, fourth rate market? So that's the whole situation. But you can think about it, it's kind of like if you decide to change the fourth rate, it may not be easy to start and change back. You know, you have to spend lots of money to remodel your design for your inside your aircraft, and you see like you need to maybe put lots of different like reformulation. So that's the main idea. Just like you think. No answer so far.
So how about 75% for freight and 25% for passenger?
That's a good challenge. That's a good issue, and also jump to my my interesting field is what kind of percentage and the ratio would be the optimal value? You know, like I do lots of optimization. So that's another issue is what kind of like allocation, resource allocation should we take care here? 35%, 30%, 32%? That's another interesting issue. So I always like to do optimization in resource allocation just because like, we will, if we want to do so, what kind of information we need to bring? What kind of information we need to consider if we want to do this kind of resource reallocation? For example, like the 35% or 33 or 32.5? How will you think?
The company just want to chase them if they want. They don't have to spend extra money to change. So only carrying the cargoes.
Okay, yes. So idea is like first of all, if you want to, for example, some of you may be interested in this kind of master thesis topic. I'm not so sure, but if you want to jump to this kind of thesis topic, number one, you need to collect lots of information. First of all, maybe you need to know like how many, I don't know, how many cargoes, air cargoes will be carried among the world. Who is your main competitor? What kind of market share rate you have so far? If you join this market, certainly the shipping price will be low. Can you affordable this kind of like a lower profit market? So that's the issue. That's the issue you need to think about it. So then we will start talking about like if we put 35% or we can do that for sensitivity analysis. But eventually maybe you can reach one ideal percentage. That's what we call a resource allocation. So this issue is, first of all, for single aircraft, yes, it's resource reallocation, especially what we call space reallocation. For the entire airline company, it may not just resource reallocation. It will kind of related to the business plan. So what's your next year or what's your next 5 years? What kind of market you want to join in? So this is a kind of like a huge question. I would like you to think about this situation. Ideally, the traditional, conventional way is they like to mixture just because like for example, half passenger and half cargoes. Passenger will almost pay the most of the cost. So freight is kind of like they're just free to be carried, so easy to make money. So that's why previously they tend to use a mixture, half passenger and half freight. And for the mixture operations, most of the revenue, most of the cost carried by the passenger. And the freight will bring more profit. That's a traditional business model. But does that work for this year? Definitely not. You see, no passenger, right? So you have to change your business model. That's why I say like it's not easy just remodel your aircraft, which means your business model will be significantly changed. You have to consider how many profit you can earn to carry on this whole operation. This is South Asia Pacific Airline cargo market. In 2012, they found like the year by year, like they still have a chance to increase the demand. Especially in this year, like the increased a lot. I can give you some number later, but increased quite a lot. So even though we have the two major international airline companies, the China Airline and the Evergreen Airline in Taiwan, they almost rely on the freight operations to support their company. So that's it. And I have the Bailey base link. If you are interested, you can go back home to check my link to see what's the meaning of Bailey space. And well, this is one company I mentioned in Hong Kong, very famous company. They always focus on the passenger operations and provide very good service. Unfortunately, this year is kind of like a big challenge for them. All right, so what's the main difference? So we just talked about if you want to put a full freight or mixture. Well, lots of things will be quite different. It's not that easy. Number one, the routes for passenger and routes for freight will be quite different. What's the difference? Routes for passenger versus routes for freight. What's the difference? For passenger, we always like the fast and direct routes. For freight, they will not complain, so you can feel free to detour whatever you want to collect the lots of the. Every detour means you can have a chance to bring more cargoes. See, so you can transfer to collect. So, first difference is in routes. For passenger, they cannot. Most passengers want the fastest way, and even though no transfer would be better. But for freight, they will not argue. So that's the number one. Number two, seasonality. For passenger, maybe the summer and winter and some holiday season will be fine for the travel. For the passenger, well, it depends. They will follow by the shopping season. So in Japan, the most busy shopping season is on April. In United States, from October to the Happy New Year, October, November, December to January. So different countries may have a different seasonality of freight. But for passenger, they are quite different. So it's not that easy to do a mixture, Even though you want to do a mixture, it's not that easy because passenger and freight have lots of different characteristics. Speed is related to routes. Well, passenger always like as fast as possible. But for freight, maybe you can just slow down, and especially for the time slot, passenger always like we call it golden time slot. Freight, well, you can not, no matter how late night you run on freight operations, they will not complain with that. Quite different. Fuel consumption related to the speed, also related to the routes. Labor requirement quite different. Passenger, you need lots of labor. Labor means that you have the crew, you have lots of service agent, you have lots of even for local service with that. So you have to support for the passenger. You have to provide very better, high quality service. But for the freight, well, maybe you just need 1 or 2 men to keep loading and unloading. Because like freight, they can wait. For passenger, they can't. Passenger want a fast pass the custom operation, fast pass everything, fast deliver, fast travel. But for freight, they can wait. You can operate very low. And noise, well, for freight, they don't worry about noise. For passenger, they may worry about that. Balance will be another issue is for passenger or for freight also. Passenger have their flow. Freight have their another flow. Both flows may not be reach the consistent same direction. So that's another issue. So even though you want to do a mixture, well, lots of challenges are listed here. It's not easy. So some people feel like the full freight may be much easier to drive. What kind of cargo will be carried by the air? Well, mainly by the mail, express items, general freight or something. What kind of cargo should be, what kind of characteristics I put both Chinese and English? I know some of you may need this kind of support, so I finally leave the Chinese part, but maybe you can put here. So we talk about lots of things about perishable. So perishable like sound like a milk, lots of milk come like a New Zealand on the always rely on the air logistics. Short life cycle, certain years they need this kind of short deadline, high value, or lots of high cost, storage and handling cost. And demand is, if demand becomes unpredictable and demand is quite fluctuate and seasonal, maybe they will rely on air logistics. Because like air logistics can suddenly to satisfy the requirement for the whole supply chain operations. If you wait for maritime, you need to wait for 1 more month to 3 months. But air logistics may sudden 1 day or 3 days, they can figure out lots of problem in supply chain operations. If you have the raw material shortage, they can be easily to do so. Lots of distribution issues, but in general we talk about the airline cost and what kind of issue will affect by the air logistics shipping cost? We talk about the volume, direction, characteristic, and the value of the service. Final one is competition. I would like to mention the final one just because if more and more companies under COVID-19 they decide to change to fourth rate, well, less than now will become another challenging issue here, like the maritime. Because we have learned the lessons from maritime companies for a couple of years. We found more and more companies jumping in the maritime industry. Some will go bankruptcy, like the one famous Korea, Hanjin, go bankruptcy 3 years ago. One from Singapore, go bankruptcy 2 years ago. 3 major maritime companies in Japan, they decide to merge together, which means that more and more companies join this freight company may not be good for everyone, you know, which means, so competition will be the main challenge in the final 5 years. And when we talk about air transportation control, we have lots of rights we talk about here, but overflight, service stops, passenger, or lots of things, and just let you be. I would like to mention more. So, traditional 5 now extend to 6 and 7. They have lots of regulation. When we talk about airline operation, we not just focus on the flight side. We call the land side and air side. We previously talked about air side more because we're standing on the airline company. They mainly care about the air side first. But for the land side, they also need to pay for lots of costs. So land side means the airport operations. So for the air logistics, we need to consider aircraft and also airport. We call the land side and air side. What difference with that? So here's the definition. Land side will include the parking lots, lots of public transportation service. Air side will have lots of runway, taxiway. Anyone knows the difference between these 3? If not, I can draw a picture for you. Runway will be easy to understand, right? They will take off and landing by the runway. Taxiway is among the runway, you know. And rampway is kind of like join this runway, or like this rampway is similar to a highway. In highway we have on-ramp and off-ramp. On-ramp means you join to the highway. Off-ramp you are departure away the highway. So ramp means very similar, but taxiway is quite different. Taxi just connected to runways. And how to measure the capacity for airport? Anyone want to guess? We mainly based on how many number of runways. Because runway means how many aircraft you can take off and landing per hour. We use this measurement to see how many capacity you can carry on. So if you have more runways, which means your landing and loading capacity will be much better. Okay, and here is lots of the fee we talk about here. Just let you see, and they have lots of cost. I just put the numbers here. This is the kind of like old data. I would say 1963 survey, nearly 50 years ago. So which means the number will be quite different. But I just want to let you know the cost structure among the air side and the land side. They have lots of like things. So we consider maintenance. We consider lots of charges here, airline share, and lots of the costs we will consider here. So just want to let you for reference. And airline certainly need to pay lots of money. How about the airport operations right now in recent years? Let me give you some information. For example, like CKS Airport in Taiwan, CKS International Airport, they earn lots of money year by year, except this year. So this year is the first year they have the severe loss within the past 20 years. So which means like the airport always earn lots of money, but not every airport earn the money. You will see if you look at like, some airport with almost closure. For example, Hualien Airport, almost closure. We are always talking about this issue, how to increase the passengers' willingness to landing in Hualien, take by flight. That will be issue. So you can think of it. So not always very similar to the the rail station. Not every station owns lots of passengers or freight. This is all structure. If you are highly engineer, just keep it here for reference. And the final one, we can talk about capacity, not just mainly for the runway, but sometimes we will also consider different terminals. How many terminals? Terminals, for the CKS Airport, we have 2 terminals so far, Terminal 1 and Terminal 2, and we are doing expansion for Terminal 3. And previously, without the COVID-19, we are under high pressure to make the expansion because we have more and more passengers year by year. But this year, well, some of my friends working in the CKS airport, they are quite happy because they have the less pressure and more freedom to follow by the slope path to do the expansion. You know, terminal expansion, you need lots of time to finish that. So in this year, yes, they are happy. So in general, we have this kind of like operations. We talk about air traffic control, lots of the different rights need to consider. Hub and spoke means like who should be the hub? Hub means the major transfer points. So think about it, like for passengers viewpoints. What kind of major transfer terminals do you think around the world? Hong Kong, yeah, Hong Kong is one major transfer point. What else?
Singapore.
Singapore also.
Paris.
Which one?
Paris.
Yes, in Europe, yes. And also like the Narita in Tokyo. You know, in Asia, we can find out lots of transfer points. We call it hub. Why we need to do a transfer? For passenger, for freight, they are very important. More transfer, you can have more chance to aggregate the passengers and cargoes, which means you have a better chance to load your aircraft. You know, space means money. And unfortunately this year, but for passengers' viewpoints, they are very reluctant to transfer. How many transfers you can allow each trip? For example, if you fly one transfer?
Yeah.
One?
Depends on the distance.
Depends on distance. Okay, very good. I would say this depends on the price. So sometimes the price, I purchased like one very lowest price from the Taiwan to the United States with the 3 transfers. I spent lots of time, but during the time I'm a student, and I think that's good for me. I spend lots of time to wait. But I mean, the cost is very, so it depends on the price. Yeah, but maxima, when we do a research, we have to quickly survey like less than 3. Maximum is 3 transfers for passenger. For freight, freight will not argue. So no matter how many transfers you bring and push for them, freight will also affordable. All right, yeah, almost finished. Okay. Okay, today I quickly finish my transportation part. I think I give you enough information for track, for inland waterway, for maritime rail operation and air logistics. Hopefully you have some fundamental information for that. And next week I will move to another topic. We will not talk about transportation anymore. So hopefully you can enjoy that. And some video, I have no time to finish all of them. So if you are highly interested, you can go back home to watch those kind of video. All right, time to finish. Any question, comments, or suggestion for today's session? All right, so see you next week.